Good morning.
Good morning.
I have to confess, the whole YouTube thing is kind of causing me some distress. And the reason being, the other day I looked to see, just curiosity. It was comforted to know not a lot of people are viewing it. But what I did notice is that with all the thumbnails, my arms are sticking out like a statue from Rio de Janeiro, like I'm doing the impersonation of Christ the Redeemer statue every single time. So every single thumbnail, not everyone, but like 80% of them, would that be, are with my arms sticking out to the side. And I'm thinking, like, how much do I preach with my arms just out like that? And I hadn't realized that I did it so much, and so I am determined not to have my arms go out to the side this whole sermon. I also have them up around my head a lot, and so my arms are staying here. And the reason why I mention it is not only because if you notice I'm being weird, it's no weirder than usual, but it's because we don't notice these things about ourselves. We often get caught into a trap of a rut of how we will be and how we act, and we will not change that because we don't even know that there's a need to change it. I didn't know that I spent most of my time with my arms out to my side. I would show you, but I won't. But sometimes we get caught into something and we become comfortable with it. It's just the way it is, and change is hard. We are, the object in motion will stay in motion, an object in rest will stay in rest, and an object that just kind of follows the same rut every day will follow that same rut because that's the easy way to do it. But it's not only in our actions, how we speak, or what our morning routine is, but it's also in larger things in our lives. It's in our relationships with other people, it's in our view of ourselves, it's in our relationship with God. We fall into a pattern and we just stay in that pattern because it's easy. And there are times when we don't even see a need to change, which makes me kind of think about Zacchaeus. So, sorry, you said Zacchaeus. I always think Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus, Don? Don says it's Zacchaeus, so I'm going to go with Don. But Zacchaeus, by anything that, especially in our world today, would judge, is a successful man. It right away starts when we are introduced with him. He is a chief tax collector and he is rich. That is what we are told about him, his profession and his wealth. And for a lot of people, those are the things that they ask about from someone. What do they do? And they don't ask directly, but they, are they rich? Zacchaeus is a chief tax collector. Now, it is so hard not to talk with my arms.
Just talk with your arms.
So, okay, oh well. But Zacchaeus is not only he's not only a tax collector, he is a chief tax collector. And I think it was last week where I said there are sinners, then there's tax collectors. So you have sinners, you have tax collectors, and then you have the chief tax collector. And the chief tax collector is the one who is taking all the money from the people who are taking money from the people. So not only do the people hate him, but even the other tax collectors hate him because he is getting a percentage of everyone else. He is also an incredibly powerful man because the one thing that the Roman Empire would not put up with is disruption to the flow of taxes. They want their money. That was the main thing that the Roman Empire ran on, was the money they made from the provinces. So when that didn't flow, they would get upset. And the chief tax collector was the one was chiefly responsible in the city of Jericho to make sure that Jericho paid all its taxes. So if you went up against him, you went up against the power of the Roman Empire. So here we have Zacchaeus, wealthy, well situated, a powerful man in the city. What then happens to him that he suddenly has a desire to change? What is it that makes him want to be different. A lot of people in the city would dream to be like him, to have that power, to have that money, to have that wealth, to be situated like him. So what is it that he is finding that he is missing? That he is willing to change, and not just change. So again, imagine a rich, powerful person in our society today running, and because they are short now, as a chief tax collector, you're protected, but you're not going to push yourself in the middle of a crowd where no one can see where that elbow or knee is coming from. So he has to watch from the back, but he can't because he's shorter than the others. So what does he do? This well-esteemed, respected person runs ahead and climbs a tree. When I grew up, I was the shortest in my class up until I think grade 11. And I heard every single short joke that you could think of. And I would not do something that would add to more short jokes. But climbing a tree so that you could see over other people, Zacchaeus is opening himself up to ridicule. He's opening himself up to embarrassment, to mockery. So why does he do it? Why does he take this risk? And part of your status as a tax collector was close. Part of your status as a tax collector is that you need and demand the respect of others. If they don't respect you, they might not pay you. Then you have to get the government or the army involved and all of that. He needs them to, in some ways, fear and respect him. And he puts all that on the line by running ahead and climbing a tree so that he can see Jesus. So the question then is, why is he doing this? Does he maybe want to see a miracle? He's heard of Jesus by this point. Most people, it seems, had at that point. So maybe he just wants to see a miracle. Or maybe he just likes being around famous people as well. And maybe wants wants Jesus to sign his sandal or something. But we get the answer when he gets there, because when he climbs up, Jesus sees him and says to him, "Hey, Zacchaeus, come on down. I'm going to stay at your place." And Zacchaeus responds like one of those people at The Price is Right when they're called down. Like it says he hurries on down and he's happy and he's joyful because he has a chance to guess the right number. He has a chance to get that which he had been missing. Because even though Zacchaeus is rich and he is powerful and he has all these things going for him, the one thing that Zacchaeus does not have is a sense of belonging in the faith community. Because he has been shunned. He has been exiled by all the other people who are of the Jewish faith. Because he is not only a sinner, he is a tax collector sinner. In fact, he is the chief tax collector sinner. So the Pharisees, the priests, no one's going to have anything to do with him because he has broken the law of Moses and has profited by it in such a way that has caused both the temple, the priesthood, the Pharisees, and all the others to suffer. He is a pariah. And when Jesus calls him, suddenly he is accepted. And can you imagine not feeling like you belong, not feeling like you are forgiven, not feeling like you have any hope whatsoever of being in the grace of God, and then suddenly somebody offering it to you? He climbs that tree for a possibility of having it, for the possibility of, because at this point he will have heard not only of Jesus' miracles, but Jesus' teachings, of his grace, his compassion, his mercy, not towards the religious leaders, but towards the sinners, the outcasts, the tax collectors, the lepers, the prostitutes. These are the people that Jesus is reaching out to. So when he hears this, he takes a chance, and when he is actually called, like a contestant on The Price is Right, he is overjoyed. And he comes down to see Jesus, and imagine that sense of being accepted when you haven't been. And he gets there, but right away, what do the people do? They have rejected, they have scorned him, And so when Jesus reaches out to him, it doesn't say some. I believe the passage says all who saw it. Not some or most, all who saw it grumbled and said, he has gone to be the guest of one who is a sinner. They can accept certain things. They can probably accept the prostitute, the leper, the tax collector, but the chief tax collector, everyone is in agreement with this. This person should not be someone who Jesus associates with. So when Zacchaeus comes running down and he's in Jesus' presence and everyone starts to grumble, normally at this point Jesus speaks out. But before Jesus even has a chance, you have the transformation of Zacchaeus as one who has suddenly received grace. So up until this point, Jesus is a person of the people, and Zacchaeus is not a person of the people. Jesus comes as an advocate for the poor, and Zacchaeus is not an advocate for the poor. He is making people poor. Jesus comes to talk about faith, and Zacchaeus is someone who has been banished from faith. But when Jesus just simply says, I am going to eat at your place, and again, eating at someone's place is huge. Who you eat with is how you are seen. So every time Jesus eats with a tax collector, a sinner, a prostitute, anyone who is seen beyond what is acceptable, Jesus' act of eating with them means that Jesus has accepted them. And so with Zacchaeus being accepted now by Jesus, when the crowd turns on Jesus, Zacchaeus is the first one to speak out. And suddenly Zacchaeus, who is not a person of, or who is not a poor person, becomes at least a person who speaks on behalf of the poor. And he says, I will give half of my wealth away. And then he goes on further and he says, anyone who I have cheated, I will pay him back, not once, not twice, not 3 times, 4 times I will make up. Now, the reality is that probably after giving away half his wealth and readdressing all of the injustice, Zacchaeus is still going to be a rich man. And it doesn't say that he goes away and he's no longer a tax collector. The point is that Jesus has accepted him where he is at. Jesus has seen him up in the tree and has called him down, and that call, that sense, starts to change who Zacchaeus is. Suddenly there is gratitude in response to the grace. There is compassion in response to the compassion that is given to him, and Zacchaeus becomes a new person. He is eager, he is happy, he is changed. So if that is why Zacchaeus climbed up the tree, to have that sense of belonging again, to have that sense of the possibility of grace, the other question then is, why does Jesus call upon Zacchaeus? Why doesn't Jesus call one of the poor people that are there, which I am sure that there would have been a multitude of, or someone who is like a Pharisee who has followed the law faithfully all the time? Why does Jesus call upon the chief tax collector? Because that is why Jesus has come. He has come to extend that love and that grace, that mercy and compassion to those who have been pushed aside, to those who are on the fringe, to those who have been exiled, shunned, and rejected. He has come to dispense the grace of God to all. The acceptance of God, that connection to the Holy One. I believe because we have all been created in the image of God, we all desire to have, whether we can articulate it or not, whether we are aware of it or not, there is a desire to have that home in the sacred, that connection to the divine, that belonging to God. But it is often easier just not to pay attention to it. Because to do something about it means we have to get out of our rut. It means we have to take a risk and do something. We have to climb a tree. We have to put ourselves out there. We have to open ourselves up to mockery and ridicule. We often find it easier just to ignore that spiritual aspect in our life. to think about all the other things that are going on, because, well, those are important too. I admire and respect that Zacchaeus is willing to value his spiritual well-being above that which the rest of society would say is important. He puts his risk, his reputation, his well-being in danger to find that sense of belonging to God. So what do? Do we actually try to change up our lives to have that connection to the spiritual? Do we do things differently, or do we just fall into a rut and just let it take us away? The challenge from Zacchaeus is to be aware that we always have to look at our relationship with God. And we have to do something about it. We can't just sit at home and do everything the way we always do. If we don't feel that connection with God, and this isn't just for Zacchaeus who's looking for the first time, this is an ongoing relationship that we have to work at. And if we think that somehow we can just sit at home and wait for everything to change, we have to put ourselves out there. We have to take a chance. We have to risk things in order to strengthen that relationship. To stay connected with God requires us to be aware and to be active. To put ourselves, in a sense, in the way of God, like Zacchaeus put himself in the way of Jesus. Liam grew up in a town, good friends, great family, felt very connected, and his best friend was Will. And he and Will did a lot of things together. They were very important to each other. But then at one point, Liam did something that Liam slept with Will's fiance. And the very next day, he went and he told Will what he had done. And Will punched him in the eye, gave him a huge shiner, and told him never to come back. So Liam went home, told his family what he had done, and a week later moved out of the town into a city that was 5 hours away. He stayed connected with his family because his family was good, but Will and all of his friends that they had, they all took Will's side, which Liam completely understood. They should take Will's side. And he felt such a sense of shame and guilt that he didn't even dream of the possibility of ever connecting again with his best friend or all their other friends. And so he settled into the new city, and he did well there. He may have been somewhat obnoxious before, but this changed him. And after living in the new city for 2 years, he found a friend, and they got married, and he would come home once a year, but that was the limit of it. He would come home once a year, but he would drive into his hometown in the dark. Because one, he was ashamed. Two, he didn't want anyone to see and make them upset that he was there. And three, he was scared. He was scared to see the look on people's faces when they saw him. Just that utter sense of disapproval, disappointment, even hatred. So he would sneak home once a year, and then when he was married, they got married in the city, which was where her family was from, and they would come once, for 2 or 3 days, and he would connect with his siblings who were still great and his parents, but then he would run back to the city. Until his youngest brother called him up and said to him that he was getting married. And Liam was excited. His younger brother was a bit of a pain, had a weird sense of humor, but he was excited that his younger brother was getting married. And his younger brother said, "And I want you to be in the wedding party." And Liam says, "Look, I'm assuming you're getting married in our town." And his younger brother said, "Look, are you going to leave me? Are you going to abandon your brother?" And he goes, "Fine, I will be part of the wedding party." He goes, "Great." He says, "Oh, and I should probably tell you this, but you've already said yes. I am marrying Will's younger sister. So Will is going to be there too. And Liam's like, no, no. And his brother goes, no, no, no. You said yes. That's it. It's done. And so Will started to have just that hole dig into him. Every time he thought about coming home, there was a sense of a weight that rested upon him. The shame, the loss, the disappointment. And so now it was eating him up. And his wife was telling him, look, just accept it. Just go. I want to meet your extended family. I want to meet these people I've never met before. And he's like, oh. But finally, fine, he goes. And then his brother tells him, hey, we're having a rehearsal party the night before at her parents' place, and you have to come. And he's like, I'm not coming. And he says, yes, you are. And he says, no, I'm not. And his wife says, yes, we are. And he says, I'm going. And so he did, because she wanted to connect there. And she said, well, are you going to make me go by myself? So he goes with her. But they get there early, and he sneaks in the back like he had done when they were kids. And he's on the yard, but he's at the farthest point of the yard, underneath a tree, hiding in the shadows. And she comes, and everyone says, oh, you know, they're happy to meet her and stuff. And he's looking at her and meeting with his family and extended family, and he's smiling to see just kind of how they're welcoming her and how she belonged. And then he looks over and he sees Will. And Will in this time has also has gotten married, and he sees Will's wife and who used to be a friend of his, and he sees them and they're smiling, they're laughing. He feels good about it. And he sees all his extended friends, and then Will looks at him. And he really tries to just sink into the tree, to just fade away. But Will locks eyes with him, and Liam is frozen. And then, horrors of horror, Will starts to walk towards him. And Liam can't move. All the shame, that guilt, all the things that he thinks about himself and that he knows that others think about himself, it's just, he can barely breathe. He's fighting for each breath. As Will gets about halfway there, his younger brother shows up and intercedes Will. And Liam is like, oh, thank you. But instead, he sees his younger brother just give Will a set of big, dark, black sunglasses. And Liam knows what his brother says to him. And sure enough, by the time Will gets up to Liam, he's holding the sunglasses, and Liam says, my brother gave that to you so that if you punch me in the eye again, I can wear them and hide my shiner, right? And Will goes, yeah, that's what he did. But before Liam can say anything else, Will says, I want you to know that you hurt me more than I think I can ever tell you. He says that the relationship with my fiancée, Savannah, that I think we were both looking for a way out at that point. We realized it was not a good decision. And I will be honest, I missed our friendship more than I missed my relationship with Savannah. And maybe I could even say thank you for helping to rescue me out of it, but I cannot say thank you for the fact that my best friend, the person I trusted the most, betrayed me. Put himself before me in such a callous way. Liam looked at him and said, I have no defense. I can tell you, but in the end, the only thing I can say to you is I am sorry. And Will looked at him and said, okay, and embraced him in a hug. Says, I forgive you. You should have come back way sooner. What took you so long, you big dummy? And he held him in such an embrace, and Liam could literally feel the weight lifting up. He could feel all that shame and guilt. It's not that it all disappeared, because there would always be some of it that would reside, but the majority of it lifted up, and that sense of never feeling like he could be at home. Suddenly, he felt like he belonged. He felt like he was home, and he embraced Will with all the strength that he has as Will hugged him back, and his ears started to ring, and then he realized, no, his ears weren't ringing. It was the whole group was clapping. And Liam knew that he was home and that he would always have a place again. When we feel like we aren't belonging, when we feel like we are beyond the grace, when we feel like we do not have the acceptance, it's because we are holding ourselves back. We are not climbing that tree. We're not putting ourselves there. The grace and the love and the compassion of God is there for us. That Jesus says, that's why I have come. And when we don't feel it, this is not to make people feel even more guilty, but what I'm saying is it is there for us to embrace, or more better, for it to embrace us. Our relationship with God requires us to put some effort into it, to take some risks, to climb some trees, to put ourselves in the way. But when we do it, it is more than worth it. And for us who have lived our lives walking with God, it is something that we need to remind ourselves every once in a while, because we will fall into a rut. We will forget that sense of just feeling the embrace and the compassion and the mercy of God. So I invite us to every once in a while think about that relationship, to not take it for granted, and to look for a sycamore tree, or a pine tree, or an oak, or a maple, or some way to put ourselves out there and to say, here I am, God. I need your grace. I need your compassion. I need your forgiveness. And when we do that, amazing things will happen.